Hi everyone, Janelli here at the Blooming Lotus. I haven't done a video in a long time where I speak into the camera. So sharing my latest experience with pregnancy loss. So last time I spoke to you all, it was around April or May. I experienced a miscarriage, so we had to get a DNC so that I can at least find some answers. And I shared the update on that, on those results back in, I think, June or July. It took me a while. These things are very hard to share. When you go through something like this, you and your partner have that period of grief. You have that indecision almost to what the next steps are going to be, how to navigate through, grief and decision making. And it's very hard to share publicly, share with your family, share with loved ones. It's very difficult. And whenever I do these types of videos, it's way past a certain time where I've told the most important people in my life already. So just going to give you an update. So in August, very, very shortly after, I think maybe 3 months after my miscarriage, I became pregnant again. And this would be my 4th pregnancy in 2 years. So the first 2 pregnancies were in 2020. One was in March of 2020, right at the beginning of the lockdowns and the pandemic. And then I had another pregnancy in November of 2020. Then my most recent pregnancies this year were in February, was when I got pregnant in 2022. And by April 15th, I was having a DNC to remove the tissue after a miscarriage and no heartbeat. I have not experienced any heartbeat in those 3 pregnancies at all. It just didn't develop towards that point to even have a heartbeat. And it was disappointing, obviously, but at the same time, it made it a little bit easier to overcome the grief and overcome those emotions because I hadn't had that attachment thanks to a lack of a heartbeat, which had been attributed in the 3rd pregnancy after the DNC as caused by trisomy 15, which was completely incompatible with life. It would not develop past the point of developing that heartbeat. So that's what was going on up until then. So in August of this year, I became pregnant again. Of course, I found out in September, but by the end of September 30th, we find out that there is no heartbeat again. However, just retracing the steps, whenever I started having some spotting, light bleeding, and of course, it was just easy for me to think, okay, well, this is a miscarriage, and it was a complete, what we would call, oops, because the plan was and still is to go through IVF. I've already had my first appointment and some decisions to make in regards to my health insurance and making some changes so that AT&T, which is the company I work for, would cover the infertility or the fertility treatments in the IVF process. So that was the plan. And so whenever I realized that I was pregnant, because I'm very regular and very on the calendar, so I missed maybe 4 or 5 days, and I knew it in my gut that it was another pregnancy, and it was hard, actually. That was not taken very, very well, to be honest. Whenever I found out, I took the test at home, positive within seconds. So when I took the test here at home, I was devastated. It wasn't something that I was looking forward to. I was actually really disappointed that I'd gotten pregnant again, which on the funny side, like, okay, well, I can get pregnant. So on the positive, right? But the doctor had already told me after the 3rd miscarriage that it is very likely, because it was a trisomy issue, which is a chromosomal error, The third chromosome in the line, number 15, is not viable for life. So basically, it is more likely with age that if you have 1, 2, 3, now you're considered a recurring miscarriage patient, that I would have more miscarriages. And so, of course, you want to carry the torch of hope. You want to feel like your body still works, like your body is doing what it's supposed to do, all of that stuff. But then, you know, the reality sits in, and it was devastating. I cried my eyes out. I cried when I told my husband. He was like, but this could be the one. What if this is the one that goes through? And I, you know, felt a little bit better, but it was hard for me to even fathom the possibility of this one being the one until I would hear a heartbeat. So that was, everything was riding on that heartbeat. And so at one point, mid-September, I started spotting, and the fear crept in, and I was sure that this was going to be a miscarriage. And you know, I prayed, I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, I'm Buddhist, and I prayed and I chanted and I directed all of the energy towards my womb, and did other practices as well, like womb healing and meditation and breath work, and just trying to send as much positive energy into my heart, my soul, my brain, and my womb. And it was very difficult. And so once I had that spotting issue, I called my OBGYN and as an emergency, but she wasn't available. So they made me an appointment with her partner, who's at the clinic as well. And there was a heartbeat, but I couldn't hear it because the machine wasn't hooked up completely and the audio part wasn't working. But the doctor was able to pinpoint where the heartbeat was and the flicker. And so it was, even though I didn't get to hear it, it was super hope inducing, and just, I was super happy. And that night I went to bed extremely happy. I texted my husband as soon as I left the clinic because he wasn't able to go with me. So he was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Like, we're so excited. And so it became something really happy times, right? But the spotting eventually stopped, and exactly 1 week later, I was to have my first actual appointment with the formal sonogram, with the sonographist available, and you know, all of the machinery correct. And so I had already heard the heartbeat. First time ever in my entire life, all the pregnancies that I've had, I'd never heard a heartbeat, or never even like had the news that there was going to be a heartbeat or anything like that. So I was extremely excited. That morning, before the second appointment with my actual doctor, I had prayed, and I felt really connected. It was a thing of that I had never felt before, where I wasn't forcing the connection. And I wrote to my mom and my sister. We have a little chat. And I told them that this is the first time that I actually feel super confident, and that I was feeling a connection to the baby. And what a devastating blow when they get the machine on me and there was no heartbeat. And to see the faces of the sonographist and the doctor just completely drop. Because I had told the doctor, I told them both, you know, that there was a heartbeat the week before, and they saw it in the records and they were already excited. They said, first heartbeat, this is so exciting. We're really looking forward to this. And when they checked it out, it wasn't there. There was no movement, there was no flicker, there was no blood flow from the cervix to the baby. It was just gone. It was over. And more than sadness, I felt anger. I was really angry. And I just told the tech, like, I'm pissed. And it was funny because she said, at me? And I said, of course not. I don't know you like that. But I'm just really mad. Like, the universe or whatever, you know, gave me hope just 1 week earlier. And that was it. It was over. So I was days away from starting the first day of Texas Fashion Week as producer. And just literally days away, and they offered me, did I want to do another DNC and go under? And I said, absolutely not. What is the quickest way to just deal with this? Because I can't have this lingering, like, or, you know, can I wait until after Fashion Week? I told them, because the timing of it was just awful. And so she said that if I waited for it to abort naturally, then the risk of just like randomly bleeding at my events or in public, or in having like extreme pain and like really going through the whole miscarriage could happen at any time. It could happen at any time. So we decided to go with the pill, misoprostol, and I wanted to just take care of it immediately. I mean, there's no heartbeat. The heartbeat law in Texas would have, you know, prohibited me from taking any measures if there was a heartbeat and non-compatibility or non-viability for life, but there was no heartbeat. So we were in the clear as long as, you know, my doctor can certify that there was no heartbeat, right? But this is my experience in Texas. Regardless of that, regardless of my doctor sending the prescription directly to the pharmacy, they gave me a hard time. It was ridiculous. I'd seen my doctor on a Thursday, and we were gonna go through the process of doing this at home on the following Friday. That Saturday was day one of Texas Fashion Week. So that is the timeline of insanity. So on Thursday morning, they called it in for the prescription with the pharmacy, with the drugstore, and I didn't get the prescription until like 9 p.m. And it was at 9 a.m. that I had my appointment. So tell me why. I call CVS to check in on my prescription, and they hadn't processed it. They hadn't done anything about it. They wanted me this whole time to call them so that I could explain to them why I was ordering what is known as the abortion pill. I was very confused as to why I had to tell them. If my doctor sent the prescription, this isn't something that I called in and requested. My doctor, who has her legal license to operate as an OBGYN in the state of Texas, certifies that I have a miscarriage and that there is no heartbeat. Therefore, there should not be a question as to whether or not I am using this pill to abort a viable baby. There should not be that question. But they did still question me, and it was twice actually, and it was humiliating. Do you understand like what humiliation is? When someone who is going through one of the hardest times of their life, you have to answer the question of, are you using this medication for an abortion? And having to answer, no, I'm having a miscarriage instead. Right? The young woman, of course, you know, she's just operating through what her directives are for her work, and she apologized. She's like, I'm so sorry. And I said, whatever, just give me my medication because I need to be done with this so that I can start my grieving process, you know? There's no reason for me to linger with this, and also at a risk to my health and my life, because you all know, and if you don't, please do the research, that if you allow it to go on and try to do it naturally, which is fine for many people, but for other people, and me as high risk, it could be potentially fatal. To carry a dead bunch of tissue in your body, it's super dangerous. And you could become septic. It's just, why? Why do we have to go through this at a risk of our health just for the morals of, or the fake morals of these so-called politicians who do not care about our rights, our health, and our reproduction? Like, they don't care about that. So that is my little rant. It was awful. When I went in person, I also had to answer the question in front of a bunch of people. One more time, Ms. Janelli, we are asking and confirming that you are not going to be using this for an abortion for a viable child. I'm like, no, I'm having a miscarriage. Like, why do I have to explain this? And doesn't that violate HIPAA? I'm gonna have to investigate that. But it really is humiliating, and I don't have to answer that question. But in order for me to have received that medication, I had to answer this stupid question. It is not the worst case scenario. There are people who absolutely would not have access to this medication if there would have been a heartbeat, even if it was a non-viable baby. They would not have provided the medication to the person. They would have not approved the D&C. They would have not allowed this person to move forward with completing a miscarriage, which is absolutely ridiculous. So that is my experience right now. I urge everyone to please go out and vote. We cannot continue to operate like this. Society needs proper health care. Women need proper health care. Childbearing people need proper health care. This is absurd that we, at this day and age, have to go through things like this in order to have proper fucking health care. That's it. So that was exactly a month ago. And I've barely had time to grieve. I've barely had time to process. I'm barely just getting back to trying to process it even, because right after it happened, I recovered for 1 day. I stepped out on Saturday and worked the entire week of Fashion Week with limitations, of course. It wasn't easy, but I felt, and I still feel, I stand by it, that it was the best decision for me to keep moving, because I did not want to get depressed. I know myself. I know when I need time, and I know when I need to not have too much time on my hands. And this was one of them. I needed to move forward. I needed to work. I needed to make the best of it. I needed to be proud of the work that I was doing. It was a great distraction, but at the same time, it was a distraction. So now it's time for me to heal again and move forward with my plan to go through IVF. We're gonna start in January, and in the next month, 2 months actually, yeah, in the next 2 months, I will be taking care of my body, taking care of my gut health, and taking care of my mental health, so that I can prepare for what's to come, and hopefully we have our baby. Our baby's gonna come, however it may be. If it is through IVF, it is through adoption, however it may be, we're gonna have a baby. It's happening, but the journey, it's been a journey. It really has, but I think I am more hopeful and really looking forward, because I know that with IVF, there are more opportunities to weed out those abnormal chromosomes and do some genetic testing, and just really see if us having a baby biologically, me and my husband, is a possibility. And if so, then we'll move forward with that. And if not, we are mentally and emotionally prepared to move forward with potential adoption. But that is where our journey is right now, and it has not been easy. The state of Texas has not made it easy, but we're gonna do this, and we have hope, and that's all I can have, right? But I hope that if you are going through something similar, that you are receiving the proper health care, that you are taking care of your mental health as well, that you are surrounding yourself with people who love you, and that your partner is supportive to the 1000%. So that's all I can hope for. And if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here to listen. If you want to share in the comments what your experience has been, or write me a personal note, I'm open to all of that. I'm not an expert. I'm just going along with my personal experience. I'm doing the research that I need to do for my personal experience, but everyone is different, and we're not here to judge. We're not here to call out, oh, your spirituality is probably why this isn't happening for you. I don't want to hear any of that, and I'm not going to impart that on anyone as well. So we're here to have respectful dialogue, and my personal experience is valid. Your personal experience is valid. Your feelings and your emotions around all of this is also valid. So I just want to share mine, and in hopes that you feel heard, you feel seen, and that you are not alone. So the journey continues.